biggest single factor in pilots becoming lost or disorientated in flying over water is what I call overwater anxiety, particularly in a single engine airplane where they come from Iowa or other parts of the country, and they start out over the water and everything is fine until all of a sudden they don't see anything but water. And then they start hearing strange sounds in the airplane and vibrations and noises that they hadn't heard before or never thought of. The next thing that happens is usually the palms start getting sweaty and minds more or less play tricks on them, and they find themselves off course and they start looking for where they're going instead of paying attention to their flight plan.
Flying over open water doesn't require unique pilot skills or any fancy techniques, just those you had to learn for your ticket in the first place. The factor that makes overwater flying different is what can happen to you if you're careless or unlucky. There are no fields for emergency landings, but still, properly done, overwater flying is as safe as any kind of flying.
I'm Betty Miller. I've done quite a bit of this overwater flying in the last few years. Most of it's been out across the Pacific, but some across the Atlantic too. Pre-flight planning out here is even more important than it is on a flight across land. Because out here you're not going to have any checkpoints, and you'll do a lot more dead reckoning. A flight plan is so important. In fact, we always say the flight is made before you take off.
Hello.
Hello. I'm a newcomer in the area, and I'm planning a flight to Nassau. I need a little help. Is there anyone here I can talk to?
Okay, we'll try to help you.
It's the first time I've ever been there, and I'm just not too familiar with the routes or how to get there.
What, do you have charts?
Yes, ma'am, I have some.
Do you have a Miami sectional?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that'll do the job to Nassau. You've never gone before?
No, ma'am.
Well, you have to have customs papers for entry into the Bahamas. That's for Bahamas entry. This will bring you back into the United States and out of Nassau.
Okay.
Do you have survival equipment?
No, ma'am, I don't. I'd like to obtain that from you, if I may.
Okay, how many people?
2 of us.
Well, you should have 2 jackets and a raft. We have them to rent.
Great.
This is the jacket, and it's the airline type. You just take it out of the... You should wear them in flight. Open that, drop it, and go into the harness, just like they do on the airlines.
Yep,
Over
that
your
seems
head and
simple
around
enough.
your waist. This is the 2-man raft. The lanyard is in here. You secure this to your body when you get out of the aircraft, and then inflate, so that the raft, just give it a jerk, so that the raft can't drift away from you.
One question. When do I inflate the...
Just as soon as you clear the aircraft.
Okay, good.
Okay, let's go over the chart and plan your trip and file your flight plan.
Thank you. Okay, I have
This is a Miami sectional, is it current?
Yes, ma'am, it sure is. I just bought it.
Okay, good. Okay, normal procedure is to come out of Fort Lauderdale on a direct heading to Bimini. Now, there's a VOR and an ADF at Bimini, so you shouldn't have any problem with communications and navigation. Then you can take a direct heading on into Nassau. You have Andros on your right, Berry Islands on your left. Makes you a good alternate if you need it.
All the VORs and the NDBs, are they operational now?
So far as I know, if they are not, Flight Service will advise you of this when you file your flight plan.
Well, I can see where it's pretty important to maintain a constant watch or vigilance with the NDBs and VORs. There's no real way of determining your ground track with that big pond down here.
That's right. There's nothing to go by.
What kind of frequencies do I have available to me for talking to Flight Service and Center?
Well, when you leave Fort Lauderdale Tower, you tune in Miami en route radio on 126.7. When you are past Bimini, you tell Miami you're leaving them and pick up 124.2.
What about night flights in the Bahamas?
Night flight is instrument only, and there are only 3 instrument airports in the Bahamas, so it limits you.
Okay, well, thank you very much. What I'm going to do now, I think I'll just sit down here and plan out my flight. If I have any problems, can I come to you?
Yes, have you checked your weather?
No, ma'am, but I will right
Well,
now.
check your weather and then decide your route and file your flight plan, and you'll find the most helpful.
Well, thank you very much. I think I'll give FSS a call right now.
Okay.
Flight planning is important, weather briefing is extremely important, and adherence to your flight plan and instructions from air traffic control can always save your life. Any private pilot who has encountered a very severe thunderstorm or even a moderate thunderstorm for the first time in his flying career probably will never forget it, particularly if he is foolish enough to be caught in it. The pilot that sees this in front of him obviously has one decision to make, either to find a suitable and sensible way around the thunderstorm or return to his base and try again at a later time.
And you do have to change your heading. For instance, to go around a cloud or a thunderstorm, be sure to keep track of how long you're off course and your heading that you've held, so that you can plot and go back onto track again.
It has been known here of private pilots to take off for a destination 125, 150 miles to the north, in which during his flight he will encounter fairly heavy buildup in front of him. He will attempt to climb over it or through it, and as a result, a few miles later he will find himself at 7,000 or 8,000 feet above a thick, heavy layer of cloud. His destination offers no means of being able to descend on instruments, and as a result he's faced with the option of either coming down through it if he's sufficiently experienced, and thus breaking one of the regulations in aviation, or more sensibly so, returning to his home base. Pilot will fly in for the weekend to see his friends or family to an airstrip in, let's say, in the Nantucket, New England area. And on Monday morning, when he decides to leave, he has found that fog has rolled in. The foolhardy pilot will attempt to take off, gradually become lost or completely disorientated, or more severe, crash or run out of fuel as a result of his foolhardiness.
Okay, before we take off, Raquel, I want to cover a few points. In the event that we have to make a water ditching, which is pretty remote really, there's a couple of things I want to make sure you know what to do when I have to do. The first thing I want you to do is to snug up your shoulder harness and your seat belt. Then, while we're going down, I want to open the door, put it in a locked position, and we'll put our shoe between the door and the aircraft. That way it'll prevent the doors from locking on us when we touch down in the water.
Would the airplane get full of water before I get on?
They don't fill up with water that fast, so we should have more than ample time to get out of the aircraft and clear of it. Any more questions?
What should I do on the way down?
Well, you just hold on the door and make sure you have it against the shoe. And of course, I'll be busy preparing for the water ditching, and I'll be making a mayday call on the emergency frequency 120.15. Okay, then while we are on the water, of course, we'll bounce a couple of times. We come to rest. Then, once we come to rest, just undo your seatbelt, force your door open, and then just roll out of the aircraft. And then once you get clear of the aircraft, go ahead and pull your two red handles on your life vest. Make sure you do it after you get clear of the aircraft, not in the aircraft.
Okay, why?
Well, by inflating in the aircraft, it'll restrict your movements from getting out of the
okay,
aircraft. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the life raft we have between the seat here,
Okay.
and I'm going to attach it to my D-ring.
What do you do that for?
Well, that way I'll make sure I won't lose it in the excitement getting away from the airplane.
Okay.
I'll get clear of the aircraft, and then I'll pull my two red tabs. Then I'll swim over to you, and we'll both inflate the life raft.
I hope so.
The only reason I'm giving you the briefing now is if we actually have an emergency, I'll be too busy flying the airplane and getting ready for the water ditching.
Okay, I'm all set now.
Good, let's go. Clear?
Okay, you want to remember when you leave the shoreline here to be sure and check your time, because you won't have as many navigation aids as you get out over the water. And you may want to refer back to this for your time and distance.
You'll find that as you leave the islands and you're not used to the idea of flying over water, your confidence quickly wanes whether you find the next island or not. I think it's very important to have in your flight plan a calculation of how long it will take you to reach the island you're going to, how long it will take you to reach any other islands that you'll pass over or pass near en route. As the time goes by, you can know whether the islands should be there or whether it's just anxiety making you feel that you're already overdue.
One thing to watch for out here, be sure to hold your heading. You'll have tendencies to want to change a heading at times, so be sure you don't change your heading unless you have a real good reason to do so. And then plan. Watch how many degrees and fly that heading. And you'll notice that the shadows from clouds will look like islands. And you'll have a tendency to want to change from your course and fly to them.
The novice pilot flying around the islands is very often confused by what he sees, whether those islands ahead are islands or whether they're cloud shadows. This is why I say it is very important to follow your progress so that you have an idea when you see what looks like an island, whether there should be an island there. Now this happens mostly in good weather, in bright sunny days with scattered cumulus clouds. In the days of bad visibility, you've usually got an overcast sky, you don't have any shadows, but you do have then a loss of horizon. You might not see any islands at all until you're very close to them. This is where it's important to make sure that you are tracking.
Flying in the Hawaiian Islands, the islands are close together and they use island reporting. It's a very informal way of reporting. You don't have to be too accurate if you're VFR. It gives you plenty of time to do sightseeing. The flight service keeps track of you all the time. In fact, they actually compute your time between 2 points. And if you haven't called in, they'll call you. And this way they keep track of your position, and if you do have a problem, they're out looking for you right away. But these little engines are very reliable. As you probably know, they very seldom quit. They may run rough, but usually if you'll stick with them, they'll get you back home again. Of course, when you get out over the water, you are out of your own element. You know that if your airplane goes down, you may have trouble getting it on the water. You may have trouble getting out of it.
Probably the most important item in overwater flying when you encounter some difficulty is to communicate your difficulty to whoever you happen to be working on the radio as soon as possible. Don't be too proud to admit that you're lost, running low on fuel, or encountering weather. Communicate with somebody so that rescue and alert forces can be standing by in case you have to ditch. might have to circle the area for a while to get the proper lighting to determine whether that one is coming from the south or from the north or from the southeast or whatever. And the idea is to land parallel with the crest, either along the crest or along the trough. But try to avoid at all costs landing into the major swell system, because it will probably end up at a very unsuccessful landing. On the way down, it's best to try to reassure your passengers that we're going to be all right. The idea is to try to avoid panic at all costs. Generally, when people don't know what to expect, why they tend to get into a panic situation. If the pilot explains to each one of the passengers just what to expect, why generally they accept it and remain a lot calmer, and as a result, everybody comes out a lot better. You might advise your passengers that on touchdown that you can expect two distinct shocks. One when the tail in a nose-high full stall attitude will strike the water first, and then the main body of the fuselage will come down and give you the second impact. In a fixed landing gear airplane, if the ditching is made properly and at as slow a speed as possible, you might avoid the airplane flipping over on its back. As we come down closer to the surface, we're down about 500 feet now from 2,000 feet. The primary swell is, the effect is reduced as far as being able to see it. So just on the way down, remember that you pick your landing heading and you're committed to a landing on or close to that heading. As we come down close to the surface, we'll see that the wind direction and velocity play a lot more important part. As we come on down to the surface, we try to look ahead and pick what might appear to be a smoother landing spot. Try to stay away from the areas where you have a concentration of whitecaps. In a light airplane, land as slow as possible. Land as slow as possible using full flap. If you have a retractable gear, raise the landing gear. Land as slow as possible. Full stall. Because there, with any degree of skill and planning ahead of time, which is so important, chances are pretty good of making a successful ditching. And as you approach your full stall, and you use what power you have to pick your landing spot, and once you've picked one, why, pull the power off and make your full stall landing.
Before you clear the aircraft, make certain that you've attached the life raft to yourself. Make certain that your Mae West is on. Once you're clear of the aircraft, inflate your Mae West. To inflate the life raft, pull the handle. Once the raft is inflated, you'll board the raft as indicated. Once in the raft, make certain that you keep the raft attached to yourself, your Mae West on and inflated. You would be wise to include a mirror as part of your survival equipment. It's a very inexpensive device and it's most effective in signaling aircraft. To use this mirror, you get the sun's reflection on your hand. Bring the mirror to your eye and you'll see a bright spot. Use that bright spot and aim against the target. This mirror is effective for up to 20 miles.
and successful rescue will depend initially on the part of the pilot. Is he prepared to go into the water should he meet some misfortune?
I'm often asked by pilots flying single-engine land planes at what altitude they should cross open water. It's hard to be precise on a question like that. It depends on the distance, an airplane's performance, and the weather. If you have an engine failure when you're out over the water, it would be great if you could be high enough to glide to land. But there's a limit on how high you can fly, and the distance to the nearest land may be out of range anyway. I suggest staying out of the clouds and avoid getting caught on top of an overcast. Yet, fly as high as possible for your radio communications and better range on your navigational equipment. If you do have engine trouble, you'll be in a better position to get help on the way in short order.
The other thing is, always allow yourself sufficient time to take care of any of this weather flying or changes in your flight plan, and don't plan to arrive at your destination too late when darkness is approaching. This can become a very dangerous problem.
And I think one of the biggest things a person has to fight is is doubting himself. When things start to get rough, you start questioning your own flight planning. And of course you have tendencies to change headings when you shouldn't. And this is when you must stay with your compass and stay on a heading.
So the secret of it really is, if there is a secret, is just following your flight plan and maintaining your heading and using time, speed, and distance as well as your navigational aids, and you shouldn't have any problem at all.